Bali. Just saying the name probably brings a certain image to mind, right? Paradise. But what happens when that postcard image, the one all over your social media feed, just doesn't match up with reality? Today, we're going to look past the filters. We're going to uncover the complicated truth about modern tourism on the island of the gods, all through the eyes of one traveler whose dream vacation took a turn they never saw coming. Let's dive in.
I mean, this picture says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the dream we're all sold, that perfect, pristine beach. But on the right, well, that's the reality one traveler found, a shoreline literally drowning in plastic. So it forces you to ask a really tough question. Which one of these is the real Bali? As you're about to find out, the answer is way more complicated and frankly more important than you might think.
Okay, so first things first, let's set the stage with the image we all know and love. We're talking about that idealized version of Bali, the one that's been so carefully built up by pop culture and social media for years.
You know this Bali. It's the whole eat, pray, love fantasy, right? It's the perfect remote office for digital nomads, the dream honeymoon spot, the absolute mecca for surfers. And this was the exact dream our source author was chasing. They spent months planning what was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime.
But that dream, it pretty quickly smashed headfirst into a very, very different reality. And this is where the story really takes a sharp turn. Yeah, instead of magic, what our traveler found was just a jarring disconnect. The first impression wasn't the sweet smell of frangipani flowers, it was the thick smell of exhaust fumes. The first sight wasn't a peaceful temple, it was streets covered in trash. And the soundtrack, it wasn't the sound of gentle waves, but the nonstop roar of thousands and thousands of motorcycles.
And look, this wasn't just a case of having a bad day or picking the wrong hotel. The feeling was so deep, so profound, that it led to this gut punch of a quote. When you hear words like exploitation, inequality, and corruption, you know this is about way more than just a disappointing vacation. This is about uncovering a system that's in real trouble.
And that feeling of danger wasn't just in their head, it was backed up by some pretty scary data. That crazy traffic isn't just annoying, it's genuinely dangerous. Traffic accidents actually doubled in just 1 year, and a whopping 86% of them involved motorbikes. The author even said the resort receptionist wasn't even surprised when they heard about injuries, saying it's very common for tourists to get injured.
So here's the really crucial point. All of these personal experiences, the garbage, the traffic, that feeling of unease, they aren't just isolated problems. No, they're symptoms of much, much larger pressures on the island. So let's dig a little deeper and see what's really going on under the surface.
The first, and let's be honest, the most obvious cost of all this pressure is environmental. Over-tourism is putting a huge, maybe even an unsustainable strain on Bali's natural resources. We're talking about the very water, the land, and the air that made it a paradise to begin with.
And this is where things get really wild. Just look at the water usage. A single tourist in a 5-star hotel can use up to 4,000 liters of water a day. A local resident, they might use 200, if that. That incredible imbalance is creating a real-deal water crisis, and demand is expected to outpace supply really, really soon.
And this just shows you the cultural cost of that water crisis. Tourism sucks up 65% of the island's fresh water, pulling it away from farms. This is a direct threat to Bali's ancient Subak irrigation system. We're talking about a UNESCO World Heritage Site that is literally the lifeblood of Balinese culture and agriculture.
So on top of the water issues, there's a massive trash problem. Bali generates 1.6 million tons of waste every year. And get this, a horrifying 33,000 tons of plastic end up in its rivers and oceans annually. The picture you're seeing isn't some remote landfill. That's a beach on an island right next to Bali, one that's popular with tourists.
And this chart really breaks down where all that trash is coming from. A single tourist creates nearly 3 times more waste per day than a local resident does. Now multiply that by millions of visitors a year, and you can start to see how the whole system is just completely overwhelmed.
All right, next up, let's follow the money. Tourism is, without a doubt, Bali's economic engine. But where does all that wealth actually go? Well, as we're about to see, the benefits are not shared equally at all. It's created a stark two-tiered economy on the island.
I mean, this is the image they sell us, right? This is luxury. This is paradise. But the really critical question our source asks is, who can actually afford this version of paradise?
This table just lays out the massive disparity perfectly. A teacher from the US or Europe can show up with a really strong currency and basically live in total luxury. But their Indonesian counterpart, who's earning just a fraction of that salary, is often priced out of enjoying the best things in their own home.
And finally, we have what might be the most heartbreaking cost of all. This intense pressure from tourism isn't just hurting the environment or the economy, it's chipping away at the very soul of the island. Its incredible, vibrant, unique culture. The cultural fabric is starting to wear thin. You see it everywhere. Sacred, meaningful ceremonies are turned into photo ops for tourists. Traditional crafts that have been passed down for generations are replaced by cheap, mass-produced souvenirs. And that famous Balinese hospitality? It's in danger of becoming just a performance, a transaction, instead of a genuine connection.
Now, I know, this all sounds incredibly depressing, but the story isn't over yet. And it's so important to realize that a lot of people are very aware of these problems, and they are fighting hard for a better future for their home.
So on the official side, the government is starting to take some real action. They've got this ambitious goal to make Bali waste-free by 2027. They're enforcing new laws for businesses. And there's a new tourist tax that's designed to help fund all these preservation efforts. It's a start.
But you know, the real inspiration is coming from the ground up. You have these amazing groups like Sungai Watch, who are literally in the rivers every single day, installing these trash barriers that have already stopped hundreds of thousands of kilograms of plastic from hitting the ocean. And then you've got the youth-led movement Bye Bye Plastic Bags, which proves how powerful local activism can be. This right here, this is the real fight for Bali's future.
So, all of this brings us right back to where we started, to that dream of a perfect trip. How are we, as potential travelers, supposed to process all this information?
The final takeaway from our source is a really powerful one. Preservation has to come first, period. It's a call for all of us to kind of rethink what we actually value in travel. Maybe the most amazing experiences aren't found in the places that everyone's posting on Instagram, but in the ones that we actually help to protect.
Which leaves us with that final, tough question. Should you still visit Bali? Look, there's no easy answer here. But knowing the reality behind the dream allows you to ask a much better question. If I go, how can I make sure I'm part of the solution and not part of the problem?